Flux is all the rage right now, but I know that for some of you it may be a bit inconvenient to run locally on your computer. You might not meet the minimum VRAM requirements or the generation time is way too long. And for those of you who can't use Flux or don't have the patience for it, today I want to show you an extremely fast and easy to run Flux alternative. The quality is almost as good as Flux, but the generation speed is extremely fast. So the model I'm talking about is a Hyper SDXL model, meaning that it is extremely fast and it can generate images in as low as 4 seconds. Yeah, you heard me right, 4 seconds. But before I show you how to get this model and how to use it, let's take a quick look at a side-by-side comparison between these two models. So the model I'm talking about is called the RealvisXL V5, which only needs around 5 steps to generate a good image. Usually normal models need at least 20 steps to generate an image that isn't all noisy, Flux included. If we take a look at these images, you can see that here on the left we have RealvisXL and on the right we have Flux Dev. Looking at these images, they look very similar in terms of quality and detail, as well as prompt adherence. Keep in mind that all of these images have been generated using the exact same prompts. Flux Dev still manages to generate better images, but you have to consider the fact that it takes about 80 seconds to generate an image using Flux Dev and only 4 seconds to generate an image using RealvisXL. If you have a graphics card that has 16 gigs of VRAM, keep in mind that Flux needs at least 12 gigabytes of VRAM in order to run, but for SDXL you only need 4 gigabytes of VRAM. So people with older graphics cards or graphics cards that don't have a lot of VRAM, this model would be a lifesaver for you. But before I show you how to download the model, you can try it out here on this Hugging Face repository. So all you have to do is paste your prompt over here, click run, wait a couple of seconds, and as you can see it generated this nice image. So you can go and check this model out on this Hugging Face website, which I'm going to link in the description. Now let me show you how to download and use this model. So if you go to the first link in the description, it will bring you to the CivitAI page, and over here you can see the model RealvisXL V5. So if we have this V5.0 Lightning Baked VAE selected, you can see that all of these images look really good. They are very realistic. And when it comes to this RealvisXL model, the realism stands out. It is almost as good as Flux in terms of realism and quality, but it still makes mistakes when it comes to generating fingers, or sometimes the eyes may not look quite as good. As long as the prompt you use is good and very detailed, the resulting image will be just as good as Flux quality. So in order to download it, all you have to do is click over here on download. And if you are using Forge UI, all you have to do is go ahead and double click on Web UI, Models, and over here in the Stable Diffusion folder, you can go ahead and save it. This is the folder where you have to download all of your Stable Diffusion models. But if you are using ComfyUI, all you have to do is go into your ComfyUI folder, and models, and again diffusion models, and just save it there. So now that you have the model downloaded, first of all I'm going to show you how to run this model in Forge UI. So you might have the latest Forge UI version, which may look a little bit different from this one, but if you are still running the older version, all you have to do is go ahead and over here in the Stable Diffusion checkpoint section, just go ahead and select the RealvisXL V50_V50 Lightning model. After that, make sure that clip skip is set to 1, and over here you can type in your prompt. So I just copied and pasted a prompt from CivitAI, an American bulldog dressed in a costume for the celebration of Halloween. And for the negative prompt, I just put in the standard bad, ugly, unrealistic, and anything else you wouldn't like to see in the image. Now, very important, over here in the sampling method, make sure you go ahead and select DPM++ SDE. And for steps, you can go as low as 5 or maybe 6 steps. And over here, let me just change the size to something like 1024. And again, very important, make sure that the CFG is set to some low value like 1 or at most 1.5, otherwise the image isn't gonna look good. Make sure you set the seed to random, and let's leave everything else the same and just click generate. So at first, the model will have to load into the RAM, and that's why it takes so long, but after that, you can see that the image generates extremely fast, and looking at the quality, it is extremely good. Just look at the details on this bulldog and, at the prompt adherence. It's really good, especially given the fact that this took only 7 seconds to generate. In Flux, this would take about 80 seconds to generate or so. So let me just click again to see how fast this model is. As you can see, it generated the whole image in only 4 seconds, and the image quality is absolutely stunning. Let's try out a different prompt. Light pink haired girl listening to music with her headphones in her room, and if we click generate, it took only 4.1 seconds to generate this image. Now looking at the image, it's not quite as good as Flux. As you can see, the hands are still a bit messed up, especially the fingers, and her eyes look a bit weird. But if we try to work on this prompt a little bit more, the quality will certainly improve. So let me just try to improve this prompt a bit. Now I worked on these prompts a bit more. I added a couple of other keywords and also added some more negative keywords. So let's click generate and see how this works. And as you can see, the image looks a lot better. You can see that her hands look almost natural. It still has some deformities over here, but at least she has 5 fingers on each of her hand, and the eyes don't look as messed up anymore. So let me just try again with a different prompt. So I copied this really long prompt from ComfyUI, and let's see how this works. And as you can see, the image quality is really great. If your prompt is very long and detailed and you make sure to mention everything that you want to see in that image in specific details, then the final result will have a higher quality. Now we are in ComfyUI. In order to load the workflow for this, all you have to do is just click load default, click OK, and over here you can see the default workflow. Now in the load checkpoint section, you have to go ahead and search for the RealvisXL V5. After you selected that, over here you can paste in your prompt. I'm usually pretty bad at writing my own prompts, so usually I just copy them from ComfyUI, from people who actually know how to write their prompts. So as you can see, I pasted the positive and the negative prompt in their respective boxes, and then all you have to do is go ahead and change the width and height to something like 1024 by 1024, because usually SDXL models work better at higher resolutions. So over here, make sure that this is set to randomize, and when it comes to steps, select let's say 6 steps. And for CFG, make sure to put this on 1, maybe at most 2. And for sampler, we're gonna go ahead and click this DPM pp_SDE scheduler on normal and denoise on 1. And let's click Q prompt. And again, you can see how quickly this image generates. And the result is really good. This is almost as good as Flux quality. Let's try again with a different prompt. Let me click Q prompt, and you can see this generates in real time. It is extremely fast, and the result looks astonishing. Honestly, this is just as good as Flux, in my opinion at least. For comparison, I'm gonna generate the exact same image using Flux. So as you can see, I have the Flux 1 dev selected. I pasted the prompt, and let me just click Q prompt. And this is the image generated with Flux 1 dev. As you can see, it took 80 seconds to generate this image, so about 20 times longer than using RealvisXL. And looking at the quality, even though Flux still has that better quality, I mean, you can see a higher attention to detail and the image is a lot more cinematic, it's still not that good to justify the extremely long waiting time. So again, if you don't have the specs to run Flux, or you simply don't have the patience to wait for the images to generate, then RealvisXL is definitely a real great alternative. It also works really well with your standard SDXL Loras. Over here you can see that I have the LoRa loader model only node, and I have the Pencil XL model selected, which is supposed to give the images like a sketch style to them, with a strength of, let's say, 0.92, using the exact same prompt I used before, and just clicking generate, you can see that the images still generate really quickly, and the final images have the LoRa style that you have selected. So that's it for this video. I hope you found it helpful, and if you have any other suggestions, leave them in the comments because I'd love to read them. So yeah, see you in the next one.